everyone, and welcome. Alice, can you do a roll call, please?
Alderman Chacos?
Here.
Alderman Capitano? Alderman Gillogly?
Here.
Alderman Smith?
Here.
Alderman Duskin?
Here.
Alderman Vandermeer?
Here.
Alderman Parada?
Here.
And Alderwoman Bartleson.
Here.
7 present, Mayor.
Well, right on. I know that, I think Chris was running late. He had a trial in the city, so he should be here soon. Pam, do you want to talk about a couple of our new businesses?
I sure do. The first business is Sports Clip, which is located at 16449 West 159th Street. It's owned by Mark and Kathleen. Nebs? Wow, would never got that one. And Mark is here this evening to introduce himself to the business and to the council and to anyone that's watching this evening. And
Well, thank you. So we opened up the 82nd Sport Clip store in the Chicagoland area here in Lockport. We're very excited to be here. And we're part of the development on 159th that started a few years back, and it's starting to take shape now, so we're excited about that, and we're excited about this store. It's my wife, Kathleen, and my third store, so we're franchise owners and just excited to be here. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Sport Clips, it's a salon primarily targeted, or it's a barber shop targeted to men and boys. We do some women and girls haircuts for more simple hairstyles. We don't do coloring, we don't do any perms. It's purely just a barber shop. And so we're just ecstatic to be in Lockport, and we appreciate all the support that the community's brought to us. We've been open for a week now, and it's been very busy, and we got a great staff, and we look forward to being a part of this community for a long time.
Well, thank you so much for investing here in the city. We really do appreciate it. And you got a great spot. There's a lot of things about the pop over there, so I'm glad you're here.
Yep, we're very excited. So thank you. Thanks again for the support.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Good luck.
And then the second business would be Mattress Firm, which is located at the same shopping center at 16453 West 159th Street. Bill North is here, and he's the manager of the store.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Bill North. I'm the store manager, and I have an assistant called Matt Lynch. We're local. We both have Lockport addresses. Mattress Firm is very excited about the store we have here. Mattress Firm is the largest retailer of mattresses in the United States. We're on pace to do $2.4 billion worth of mattresses across the country. And I think when I wrote a ticket the other day, we were just short of 3.5 million new customers this year. And the reason I brought that up is because Mattress Firm has two very unique guarantees. We guarantee that you're going to be happy with your mattress by giving you 120 days to make sure you are happy. And we also give you a pricing guarantee that you pay the lowest price over a 100-day period. So far, I was telling Darren and Bob that we opened just a little bit before Sports Clips, and we've had 30,000 in finalized sales, and I would say 97% of that has been Lockport residents. We are currently giving Lockport residents an additional discount on anything they get in our store, and we're very happy to be here and looking forward to going, being very successful in this fine community.
Well, thanks, Bill. Thank you, too, for investing here. And I did stop in with my wife and I have one of those Tempur-Pedic mattresses that are supposed to bounce back. Mine's so old, my body's permanently indented into the mattress, so we have to get a new one.
What are you doing sleeping on it? Come on over.
We'll come see you. Thank you. All right, very good. And it's another business in town, which has been just a wonderful addition over time, not just because it's been a very popular business, but also because of the owner, Mark. Mark, you've done a tremendous amount of work here in the city, and just your generosity has been tremendous. And Terry called me the other day and said, "Look, we got to get Mark in here." And we both knew that you would never come if you knew you were going to get recognized. So we had to tell you there was some kind of problem that you had to address the council over. So is the only way to get you in here. But Terry, I know you wanted to say a few words specifically, so please.
Yeah, we did tell Mark that he had a liquor law violation to get him here today.
Which he doesn't have.
With us today is our Vice Presidents, Bert Thompson, Steve Benarsik. We have bubbling BJ Ferry is our treasurer, and Donald Krusty Copeland is our event coordinator, and we have Bill and Jane Pasalia here as well. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Lockport Love. And we are an organization from this community. We raise money all year. We give it back in December of each year. But almost every business and resident, or every business and many residents gave money to Lockport Love this year. It's neighbors helping neighbors, people who are in trouble. One of our 2015 families is a woman, a single mother that took in 3 homeless kids. But this year, we raised twice as much money as we did last year. Just this week, we received a $1,000 donation from Uncle Richie's and a $1,000 donation from Janine and Neil Wheeler as well. But our biggest hero is somebody that we wanted to honor tonight. This guy is very humble. He operates under the radar. He doesn't want anybody to know what he does, but we found out. So I'm going to tell you what Mark Fiebig has done just this year in 2015, just for Lockport Love. He does things for other organizations as well. Where is he, by the way? Come on up here, Mark. Come on up. Mark, we're not having a liquor hearing today. This is just what he did for Lockport Love. He organized a golf outing benefiting Lockport Love. He organized an Oktoberfest benefiting Lockport Love. When Lockport Love held its own golf outing, I called him and said, Mark, what do you owe you for food? He said, you don't owe me nothing. He wouldn't take any money for the food, for the great food that he provided for the golf outing. Mark organized the First Responder Appreciation Walk. This isn't a really good time for police officers. You know, if you haven't noticed, it's not a really good time. But Mark organized a walk from the police department, and I think a couple aldermen, I know Ben was there, Bob, you were there as well. Anybody else there? Darren was there. And then we walked to the Iron Horse, where we provided lunch for not just the first responders, but their families as well. On this Saturday, Mark is buying 24 $100 gift cards for underprivileged kids, and 24 of our police officers volunteered their time to go shopping with these kids. And what the police officers donate and the $100 that Mark does, these kids will have a much better Christmas. Mark is also active in other food, in the Northern Illinois Food Bank and other food banks, things you would never know. But Mark's fundraising and financial contributions to Lockport Love accounted for over 1/3 of what we raised this year, and helped us to fund 4 more families, 4 very needy families. You know, they say that a person is really judged by what they do when no one's looking. Mark did all this stuff while no one was looking. Unfortunately, or fortunately for you, we were looking, Mark. So I'd like to present Mark with this very handsome plaque that we would expect to be put up on the Iron Horse wall by Saturday at 9 o'clock when we do our gift giveaway. It says, presented to Mark Fiebig, Iron Horse Saloon, in recognition of your generous support of Lockport Love and the Lockport community. Your compassion and sensitivity for those in need reflects your high character and giving spirit. Your involvement in Lockport Love has improved the lives of numerous people who have benefited from your charitable ways. You are an inspiration to others and a valued member of the Lockport community. So Mark, congratulations.
Yeah, sure. Come on in, Jim. Well, get up in the front. Bill took your spot. Get over here. Lockport Love, thank you so much. Well, we are really blessed to have folks like Mark, the people that are here from Lockport Love, the officers on the department who just constantly put their time in to just really make the community just that much tighter. So we're very blessed. Thank you all for that. All right, my friends, I'm going to move on down the line. Pam, what do you got?
Did you want the liaisons reports?
Oh, do you guys have anything for liaisons? All good? All caught up?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Pam, why don't you give us the PZC case?
Thank you. Tim Hartford is the owner of 1.8 acres located at 1011 McGregor Road. It's residential property. He's looking to subdivide into 2 lots. The matters before the city council this evening, it also went through the plan commission because the plat that's being, or the property that's being requested to be subdivided is over 1 acre in size. This was presented to the plan commission on December 8th. There was no questions, comments, or concerns. It did move forward by a vote of 5-0. Once the 2 lots are created, the 1 lot, the overall property currently has a residence on there as well as some accessory buildings. Once the property is subdivided, Lot 1 will maintain the residence and the accessory structures. The other lot will be vacant. If that property is sold, they will need to submit a permit to the building department for review for construction of a new home. At this time, the lot does comply with all the zoning requirements. Therefore, we're asking direction to place this on the city council for action at the next meeting on January 6th.
All right. Any questions, concerns out there?
I had one I forgot to ask. Sidewalks, connecting the sidewalks, does that come later? Putting sidewalks, connecting what was there?
We'll have to check if there are sidewalks out there. If not, then we'll work with engineering to see if that's required to be installed.
I know it was to the south, so I was just wondering if they're connecting up or what.
One other question, Pam. All the utilities are in the front, or on the street side? Yes? Okay.
Everybody good? Anybody other questions? I'm okay with consent as long as everyone else is, unless you need some answers further.
I would just say, while we have the opportunity and we're doing this, just make sure that the sidewalks continue through, and if it's.
Got that noted.
If I could just say something real quick. We have an STP project that's coming forward in 2017, where we're redoing that section of McGregor Road down to North Street, and then the section of North Street from McGregor to Reeve, and there will be sidewalks installed as part of that project.
So that'll be running in front of these 2 properties, okay.
It's Alderman Petrakis' new name, Jimmy Sidewalks.
You think I walk a lot, but
Your thing, man. I like it. I know. Yeah, you never walk anywhere.
I like seeing other people walk around. I'll connect the community.
All right, very good. Ben, you want to talk a little bit about Magenta?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Before you is CA1, an incentive redevelopment agreement and real estate tax abatement proposal with Magenta Plastics. We do have Bob Mallow, their president, here with us tonight. This is the old X10 site that went out of business last year. We've been working with him in relocating their operations from Chicago. They were looking at also other DuPage County destinations. It really came down to basically Lockport and Naperville, and he's agreed to relocate here in Lockport. Part of those agreements in coming here was that we would formally ask the council for a tax abatement of $10,000 a year for 5 years for $50,000, not to exceed $50,000. There's a copy of the redevelopment agreement and tax abatement and a copy of their prior tax bill on the facility in your packet tonight. I'd probably ask Bob maybe to come up and answer a few questions if you like, but one of the things that staff, myself, Elisa, and Tom had worked with Bob, we're excited about this business coming to Lockport, that they're good jobs, and this is important to our downtown and daytime numbers when we're trying to attract retail and having our businesses and restaurants achieve better numbers at lunchtime. And having these new positions here, he's going to move some of his executive staff, and then there will be also new hires being hired in the community. and he's already talked like a good community partner where he wants to reach out to the high schools and develop a job program and try to get some feeders for talent into his facility and operations that he plans to open, I think, this July. So with that, I'll take any questions about the agreement or
Well, can we have
Bob's
Bob
here to
come
answer.
up and talk about Magenta, please?
Well, again, thank you very much for the opportunity. You guys have a lot of fun here. We're glad we're moving in, so thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, thank you, and many members of the council. We really appreciate the outreach and the efforts that you made in working with us in conjunction with us. Give you a little bit of background on Magenta. Magenta's been around since 1969. We do plastic injection molding. So if you look at your water bottle, the cap would be plastic injection molded. The bottle itself is what they call blow molded. Okay, so we make our own proprietary products. We also make a lot of other parts for many large businesses. So we're going to be, we have some animal care products that we do. We have personal care. We have some pharmaceutical. We're going to have a Class 100 clean room in there. And we're going to have design engineers and the like, because we don't do a lot of stock products. We do a lot of more innovative products for a variety of different companies. And again, we have our own. As was mentioned, we're going to be in the process of relocating from our facility in Chicago. We're very close. If you know where Schurz High School is, we're a little bit west of Wrigley Field is where the facility is right now. We're privately held, and we wanted to stay in Illinois. We wanted to stay in the general Chicago area for a variety of reasons. We have many customers, long-standing customers. That location is very important, so we wanted to do that. As was mentioned, we were looking at between Naperville and Lockport, and personally I'm a Mokina resident, so this is actually quite convenient. But we're going to be bringing a variety of jobs, all levels. We have entry-level jobs, some of that are more on the warehouse distribution side of our business, all the way up to very, very high-skilled engineers, but also very high-skilled maintenance technicians, process engineers, setup people, tool makers, those type of jobs. The jobs that we're constantly recruiting for because there's not enough talent for those particular jobs. And as Mr. Benson, we're looking very favorably of working with the local community high schools, some of the colleges, community colleges, whatever in this area, to see what we can do for kind of a recruiting pipeline as people migrate from school into the workforce, and also within our organization, the ability to start someplace in an entry-level job, work your way into another job, work your way into another job, work your way into another job, and these are manufacturing jobs. So our ownership is such that we are a certified woman business enterprise, so we are a diversity supplier to many of our customers, which is very favorable and makes us kind of a unique in our space. You see very few women business enterprises in the plastics industry. So we're going to be bringing in somewhere in that 100. We have over 100 employees right now, so we think there'll be some that'll move, but there'll be 100-plus jobs over time that'll be migrating here. In addition to the plant, we will also be having our corporate headquarters, our home office will be migrating into the Lockport area also. So there'll be additional administrative sales type of jobs that'll be coming with those also. So if there's any questions, I don't know if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask.
I do. Are you a 24/7 operation? 24/7?
We are. We're actually trying to migrate to 24/5, but we do have some jobs that require us to work 24/7. Currently, we are working 24/7 but we're actually, part of the reason for moving in this facility is to be able the ability to put additional capacity in the building so we can try to work our way toward a 24/5 operation. That would be long-term what we'd like to be able to do.
Great, thank you.
I was just wondering, the timeline when you might be coming to town, and the second question would be, jobs will be listed somewhere at some time? Any idea where you'll be listing jobs and how people can go ahead and apply for those jobs?
Sure, our timeline is we're preparing right now, we're working, we have executed the lease, and so we're getting our planning prepared. You should physically start seeing us start to move in, so to speak, springtime. I would think we're right now tentatively scheduled for April. We will be in no later than the end of June. We will be in full operation no later than the end of June, but we will start migrating over somewhere late March, early April, and over those course of the next few months after that. So that's kind of what that is about. As far as posting, I actually when I had met with some of the members of the council, had asked for a name and how we might go about posting those jobs here in Lockport and what would be the best vehicle to help us recruit. So I'm going to be reaching out to the village and talking to the folks locally to say how could we recruit. We will have a recruiting office at the new facility to start taking applications and to start recruiting and start interviewing people. We'll probably actually have them start somewhat in Chicago as we start to bring people on. So we'll have some redundancy, and then so that they can learn what we do before we have to move everything. They can, and if we are going to be maybe potentially losing some people from the Chicago plant, we can train some of these folks before we move all of the capacity and all the machines out here. Any other questions?
Any more questions?
No, I think it's great, you're giving the people here in the city of Lockport a great opportunity for employment and, and to live and work close to home, so that's great.
And again, thank you to the village for again working with us and being so welcoming to us. And we look forward to getting out here, getting settled in, and becoming a nice part and a big part of the community. So, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Bob, I really appreciate it, man. I love people who make stuff, and I think you guys made this, if I'm not mistaken.
We do.
Yeah. So we were talking about that earlier. So do appreciate the opportunity for you to be here. Aaron supplied our sound effects. Here he comes.
If there's not any other questions, this is probably an item we can put on consent. Tom, I don't think you have to have a separate item.
Well, how do you guys feel about it? Everybody, questions, concerns?
So, Ben, just to clarify, right, just publicly, I think, and we all probably know, but it's 5 years, up to $10,000 per year.
We're setting it a $10,000 incentive per year for 5 years at $50,000. So it would be, it's a set amount, basically.
Right. Isn't it
We
50% up to 10,000?
Originally, we were obviously negotiating and going back and forth. We had talked about a 50% window, but we were trying to achieve a certain dollar amount for the company, and so we've increased that to $10,000 annually for 5 years.
It's fixed?
It's just fixed at this point.
Okay.
I agree. It
It's
does
not how it
state-
reads
kinda
in
read-
here.
yeah,
It does say not to
It
exceed.
says to abate 50% of its real estate tax bill, up, not to exceed 10,000.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the current tax bill,
in the agreement?
yeah, the current tax bill is about $19,000 per year for the city portion
Oh,
of
I thought it was
taxes.
like 15.
So we're almost at that 50% mark, and with the improvements that'll be made, we're anticipating it would go over that. I know there's been some discussions recently about making it a fixed $10,000 per year. If that's something that we need to do between now and the next meeting, we'll do that and then inform you.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
And even at 50%, it's roughly $10,000 a year.
Well, as I thought I saw it, City of Lockport was 14,970, so 15,000 last year, right? So that'd be 7,500.
It was
bucks.
$7,500
It's a minor
last year.
Yeah,
clarification.
our
I was
initial
trying to
conversations were
understand.
50%, but once we assumed that our part, once we found out what the actual tax bill was, that we focused in on a dollar amount. And I do see that, my memo says that, but the actual redevelopment agreement still says 50%. We'll make that clarification for the next meeting, that it is meant to be a set amount of $10,000 per year.
Okay.
Not to exceed
Okay, and I was fine either way as long as we had a cap, right? And sure, reasonably, if it's based on tax rates, it's not gonna go
Because at
way up, but-
50%, EAVs could go up or down, then the dollar amounts could go up and down, and I think the company wanted to be able to bank on a certain dollar amount, so we wanted to secure that way.
I think that's fine. I mean, this is sounds like a great business. The company I work for, we work with these kind of guys all the time. They're great jobs. They really are good local businesses. I don't know this business in particular, but I think it's excellent, and frankly, it's, just for reference for those listening, it's like 6% of the total tax bill. Now, we're talking 50% of the city portion, but they're gonna come in and really take over a building that needs somebody to be there, right? And put
They're gonna spend over
put money into it.
$700,000 to
Exactly.
kind
So
of renovate for their needs, so.
the city still makes money on our net tax per year. We're giving up some, but we still make money, and it's bringing a lot more, for schools, jobs, everything else. All the good stuff is still coming in as well, so I think this is a great idea.
I think one other thing that should be noted too is that the assessed value of that building was about to go down because it had been empty for so long, so they were going to get assessed down. So this keeps, so even if we're, putting money aside for this with this abatement, it's money that would have ended up going out the door
Probably
anyway.
lose some of it anyways, yeah.
So at least this way, there's jobs and all the mojo that comes with it, so. Okay.
All right.
Anything else?
So did we determine if it was going to be on a consent or?
I'm fine with consent, and if that's all right with the crew.
As long as we got clarification
Yeah,
on
just
that.
clarify
and
the
we'll add
language,
that.
but I'm
We'll
fine with
modify
it.
the agreement
that.
to be more clear.
All right, sounds good. We'll put it on the consent. Bob, thanks. Look forward to having you here. And you can see how involved all the businesses are here, so it's a good community. I'm glad you're going to be a part of it.
Thank you.
Mayor and members of the council, the next item on your agenda, CA2, is a professional services agreement with KC Realty Incorporated, which is basically Tim Flanagan, who is also here with us tonight. As I highlighted in the memo, we have been working with the retail coach, and we'd like to change to a more local Chicagoland type broker to partner with in helping us bring retailers and restaurant opportunities to the Lockport area and fill key vacancies and help us with some of the land development. Tim's here, and we can certainly take some questions. The mayor and I have met him at a couple different meetings in the Chicagoland area and have been impressed with his contacts and knowledge of the retail world. We've agreed as a $3,000 a month stipend for the next 6 months with the option to renew for another 6 months in the contract. If you have any questions, we'd certainly welcome them.
Well, and let me give you some background, too. As we've come on board and we've done some of the hard background work, which was getting, say, Lockport Square out of foreclosure, Lockport Square South, where Played Against Sports and those used to be, that was also in foreclosure. A lot of residents don't realize that. It made it very difficult for anything to get developed there. Both those buildings, or both those areas are now been bought by brokers, and there's movement. Obviously, we see the mattress firm and the sports clips going up. And there's a lot of things that are on the table. As, in my 2.5 years now of really working this, one thing that's become hugely apparent, like when you go to ICSE conferences and you go to, the misunderstanding I think a lot of people have is that retail, man, you just get on the phone and tell these guys we're here, what's the matter with you, people on the council? How hard is this, right? But it's really about having the relationships. It's about really having all the stuff that the retail coach put together for us, which was all the demographic information, all the psychographic studies, things that we never had in the past. We have all that stuff put together. But now it's really about getting those relationships with the brokers who represent these retailers. That is essential. And without it, you go nowhere. The first year we went to ICSE conference, I think we had I don't even know if we had any appointments because none of us even knew how to deal with it. But since then, we have a very clear understanding of what needs to happen, and that's about having people who have those relationships. Last ICSE conference, we had some good ones, and God willing, we've got a couple things at Lockport Square and Anchor that's, very close to signing, which would be a very good one. So, but I don't want to leave any stones unturned, and I want to make sure that we're being as proactive as possible. When I met Tim Flanagan a couple years ago, he's one of those brokers that knows everybody, knows who represents what, who represents who. which is the vital information. I wanted to make sure we had somebody like that, to take the information that we've gathered, to take the work that's been done for the last 2 years in prep, to start building those, getting those meetings done, making sure these folks know that we're ready to roll here in Lockport. And that's why I've asked Tim to help us out. I'd like to, for 6 months, we wanted to kind of bring them on through the next ICSC conference, because that's where all the deal-making goes down. Tim's helpful with getting appointments made. It's essential at these conferences. And I tell you, they're weird, Half the time, these conferences are two guys talking in a corner, but you don't get to talk in the corner unless you have Tim Flanagan who set it up. It's really the way it works. So, Tim, I welcome you. If you want to say a few words, introduce yourself to the council. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate the opportunity, Councilman. I started my career in commercial development about 20 years ago. I was fortunate enough to team up with a gentleman who started Mid-America Real Estate Corporation, and for 15 years I was his right arm, and we went through, we built about 8 million square feet of large big box development. Through that period of time, my responsibilities not only include some development management, but working with the brokers, whether they represented tenants or brokers that we hired to represent our projects. And so I become extremely familiar with the national tenants, the regional tenants, and most importantly, the relationships between the brokers, whether it be tenant rep brokers and local brokers, who actually get the deals done. And so when I met the mayor, the company I was with actually was chasing the Lockport Square, and I truly believe that Lockport is on the cusp of turning the corner. I've been through the recession. The big boxes are just starting to talk about coming back into the marketplace. I'm a South Side guy. I live in Frankfurt, office in Oak Brook, and in the last 5 years, I've teamed up with a couple other colleagues to build smaller outlot buildings, the Chipotles, the mattress firms, and such. So my Rolodex spans the whole market, from big boxes all the way down to the haircuttery guys and things like that. With the relationship at Mid-America, for which I spent 3 years in their house working with their brokers, you form these relationships with these guys and girls who daily are rolling out different tenants, retailers, restaurateurs, and you really have to be in the loop. They have to be comfortable with you. They have to know that you can keep things confidential and that you're working basically for them to move their careers forward, because that obviously is the bottom line. So I think I can add and compliment Pam with regards not only to getting us solid meetings and a good presentation at the ICSC, but I'll work with this on the smaller levels, with the more local vacant spaces and things like that, to try to bring regional players. I've got a ton of experience in development, tenant improvement costs, and documentation of all those types of deals. So I look forward to the challenge.
Have you worked with GMX Group and Jim Puritan? And
I don't know Jim. I know Andy Goodwin very well. And, back in the days, we've competed for projects. I've spent a lot of time in my career in development. Now I'm more focused on the brokerage side of things, but I do know GMX, and we competed. I know the investment group behind them, and that's a good group. I'm very close to Dick Spinell, who is one of the brokers on the project, as well as Gary Greenfield. They're not going to need any help. Those guys really know what they're doing. I have great respect for them. On the other hand, with that said, I've contacted a couple of those gentlemen to make sure they knew that I was interviewing for this opportunity, and I was well received. And so that'll be a nice relationship, but that's not where my focus should probably be spent. I truly believe you've got a great crew of investors and brokers working on that project.
so your focus would be in what direction here in town then?
Well,
I I think it's great that you're coming on. It's fantastic, you know, you're exactly, you know, what we need, and I'm just asking questions is all.
Sure. You know, there's vacant land across the street to the north that needs developed, that will piggyback off of that, probably different type of users off of Lockport Square. You know, Lockport it has barriers with the river and the bridge, and you know, it's the knowledge that I bring of who is looking in these types of markets. I've done a lot of work on the south suburbs. I brought Home Depot to Frankfurt. You know, I haven't been brought on board yet, if you will. I've met with Pam a few times. I've talked with the mayor and Ben, but I need to roll my sleeves up, get an understanding of what's available, what can be, you know, what's vacant, and what uses the retail coach, for which I went through their information and thought they did a great job, but they're looking at it from 30,000 feet. They're not really down on the ground, and I don't think they really understand the market from a local's point of view.
And that's, I think, one of the best things I like about Tim, when we were talking about just local stuff, I mean, just understanding the traffic patterns, how familiar you are. I mean, that's the one thing I was really excited about, was having a local broker who understands our market.
I have a question. Excuse me. As you know, there are other towns surrounding us that are also trying to fill up their empty land, their empty buildings, just like we are. So I have a two-part question. First of all, are you working with anybody else in the local area, any other towns? And once you do talk to, say, a big box store, that type of, when do you foresee like that coming? So how long does it take, once you talk to a big box store, to actually coming to a head in their building? What, you know, where is your timeline? What do you kind of foresee when you talk to those people?
To your first question, no, I'm not working with any other community. This will be my first consultant assignment, to be honest with you. The mayor approached me at the ICSC in Chicago and asked me if I knew anyone who might be interested in doing something like this. I'm diverse in my career at this point in time. I'm doing more brokerage than I am development. So I do work closely with Oak Forest. I've taken on a few challenges over there. I delivered a Family Dollar, a Starbucks, and a ATI physical therapy to that community recently. The city owned property and asked me to, we built a Fresenius dialysis on one of the parcels, and with that they said, would you please stay on and help us out? But I don't have an agreement with them. I'm not employed by them. Boy, that's a tough question with the big boxes, and you know, with the promenade in Bolingbrook rebounding and doing better financially, and the market in general strengthening, you know, I would hope that the big box development would come back in the near future. It's been stifled with, you know, the internet has had a lot to do with that. The retailers' footprints aren't that large. We're seeing the grocery industry, the grocery store industry is the most aggressive and most active at this point in time. But there are certain users that would fit well at that location, you know, and so I think, and I briefly spoke with some of the brokers with regard to Lockport Square, and the short list they have, I think, fit real well. It's always a cost of, the problem always is the rent that they'll pay versus what the cost of construction is. I know the community is participating aggressively to incentivize those companies to come, the bigger boxes, so that's very important. But the rents are very low on the big boxes. They're going into existing spaces where they can. The Dominick's came through, and the Kmart, some of those have closed. But those have traded now. So you know, I would hope that. I'd hate to put a timeline on it. I'm very optimistic. I'm very persistent. But you know, it'll be a couple years due to the fact it takes that long to build a building.
Okay.
I'll tell you this, man, the one that they're negotiating with right now, which I think is a very good user, started this conversation with them at least a year ago. It just takes stinking forever, man. I know, look, nobody wants development more than us.
Right.
Because we all live here just like everybody else, but everybody, like, you know, comes at us with pitchforks and knives, right? So we know that nobody wants it more than us. But it does take time.
Right, no, and I agree. I think we get the questions as being aldermen and hear that, hey, we're talking about, well, when's it gonna come, We don't know either, you know what I'm saying? So I just thought.
The good news is
hear from
the
you.
infrastructure is in at that site, and
Right. Well, I guess, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but going back to the first question I had for you too, you talked about this is like your first endeavor, I'm taking it, am I correct? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this is your first time, in a way, doing this?
well, I do it for a living, but
Okay.
this is the first time I've signed up with a community
Okay.
to assist them.
So my
Well, see, here's, let me give you an insight. There was other local groups, like Retail Coach, that I thought about. But like, who's the one we were looking at? They're at Crest Hill. What's the name of them? They're one of the bigger ones.
Retail strategies?
Yeah, Retail Strategy. They're working next door in Crest Hill. So like, oh, sure, we'll work in Lockport, but I want somebody who's working right next door as well. So most of the consultancy agencies, that's what they do, is they go to cities and help them. Either they were too close by, or I felt like there'd be too much conflict of interest. So I thought about, is there a person that I've, seen out there who could actually take this on, who could be like our inside person? It's a little, I would say it's probably a little bit unconventional that way, that we're seeking
Truly
a
is
person.
unconventional, yeah.
And that's what's leading to my question. If Lockport was to, say, hire you for the consultant, are you obligated within, say, a 100-mile radius not to take another town on? That's my concern.
We're negotiating an agreement. I don't have I know Lockport very well. I spent a year and a half chasing the Lockport Square before GMX got it. With the background knowledge that I have of the community, it's the only reason I'm considering, and my relationship with the mayor and Ben, that I'm considering this. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna open up a consulting firm and start going to other communities and pitching my wares.
Okay.
This is the reason we looked at a 6-month stint. It'll get us through the ICSE, and it's a learning experience for both of us, but I think the community, you really need a person like myself who knows, has the relationships with the people who can get you in front of the decision makers.
Most definitely.
That's I think, the focus of my scope of work.
So,
And that was my concern and question also is, obviously you do this, commercial realty for, for a livelihood, but the contacts, I think that's my main concern. You do have contacts with the people that really, of the retail that we're actually looking for. I assume that's, how the mayor made contact with you. You obviously have the contact with the people actually that we're looking for to give back into Lockport.
That's correct. The 15 years that I spent with Mid-America Development Partners as a right-hand man to the president of that company, started Mid-America Real Estate Corporation. He was the co-founder of Chain Links, the national organization of brokers. So, and being, daily with him as his co-partner, if you will, a small percentage partner, I have all those contacts. Yes, I do, and now I do it for myself on my own. I find projects and I go out and I market those projects to those users on an isolated basis. The market is not such that it was where we had 23 shopping centers being built at the same time back in 2007, 2006. So the work isn't is voluminous, but I do have those connections. Correct.
Anything else, my friends?
I have a question. So given, I think we're both kind of saying, hey, this is a little bit unconventional, we think it might work, there's some mutual appeal here, which is all good. Does it make sense, and maybe based on the fee structure that's here, that's not, it's not unreasonable, I don't think by any stretch, but what I'm used to in these type of consulting engagements, more on like the management consulting, is a fee structure that would be a little bit more variable and reward-based, right? Does something like that make a little bit more sense here? Maybe some sort of fixed fee, whatever is fair for ICSC and just general representation, but then, something that's a little bit more rewarding based on success of placing stores and things like that, which frankly, in my mind, with you speaking on how optimistic you are, I think the net of that is if that comes to fruition, we end up paying you more, right? But then also just kind of align everybody's incentives together. Now, again, this isn't a huge contract and maybe it's not even worth it, but it's just, that was my thought process as I was reading through.
You're not too far off. There's twofold answer here. The first part is, we were trying, this is more of a shorter term. We're looking at this probably more as a shorter term contract. It's not something that we probably will be doing for years on end. And in a short window, we didn't want to try to limit those contacts and abilities or have any of those constraints. We want to just kind of get into this for the first 6 months, help us with a couple of these different items. And where he can be incentivized is that it's in the agreement as well, and we've talked about this, that it's kind of like realtors. When people bring business to certain properties, there are commissions that are traded. And he's allowed to negotiate those with those property owners and get additional possible compensation if he brings a Home Depot to that property owner. That's not, that would happen if anyone brought that business to him, so we're not asking him to stay away from that. We are asking him to represent us in the marketplace, and we've negotiated a set fee for a set period of time to help us with this in the short term, and then we can evaluate later if we want to change it or make it more long-term.
But if that's the case, we're essentially paying to give him the edge to earn a commission share somewhere else.
Shouldn't say commission's more of a finder's fee. They're much smaller than a standardized thing. But he has the contacts. He has the ability to get us in front of those people and to hopefully close some deals. And when you close deals, you get paid.
Will we have an exclusive agreement with Tim?
Yes, that's what we have
Okay.
for you tonight.
So this will be an exclusive where he's actually working for us, and the finder's fee comes in when he actually finds a business that...
If there's one at all. I'm just saying there could be, that he's entitled to it if they get it or if they want to.
So otherwise, then he gets paid no matter what?
You get paid, he's, in this agreement, he would be paid a monthly stipend for the next 6 months. The more successful he is with developers and projects, there's an opportunity for him to potentially make a little more money.
Not from us, but
Not from us, from the landowners.
For me, we're doing something, we need more of a kickstart, getting something out here for 6 months. It's not a year contract, it's 6 months to see how it is. Go out there, and if somebody can help Pam and the mayor go out there and make a little bit more contacts, I think, let's try it. We're doing other things, we're hearing from community, trying to do a little bit more. Why not and do it, and then we're not, after 6 months, if it doesn't work out and doesn't pan out, then we're on to the next and beating down other doors.
And that was certainly part of the reason behind the 6 months. It's like, and for Tim too, this is new for him, let's get a feel, see how this works out, and what's the best way to move the relationship.
Yeah, I would knock on wood that this is great and it's really starts working, and then we do a year contract at that 6 months, and we do a commission and even more, and really make it more viable, and we
Yeah, I
move
mean,
forward.
my fear is if we think this is going to work, 6 months isn't long enough, unless we're just saying this essentially is a fee for phone calls for ICSC.
And we are asking for authorization for another 6 month
6
renewal
months,
in
yep.
this contract that we wouldn't necessarily come back to the board for, but we probably would mention it. Things are going well, so. It does take time. I mean, it takes, it takes years, but we've begun this process with our own staff, and we've always kind of, as we learn more, we thought, boy, we really need a broker that knows the brokers, and Tim's a broker that knows other brokers, so.
Yeah. All right. How do you guys feel about it? Is this something you guys want to move forward with? Give this 6 months a shot? All right. Who does it report to? Pam,
A little bit of everybody, but we're going to have scheduled meetings every month. And
all right, we good with the consent then?
Yeah.
All right, Tim, thanks. Look
Thank
forward
you
to
very
working
much for the opportunity.
All right, my friend.
Go get them.
There you go. All right, what else we got here, Ben?
Next item on your agenda is CA3, Development Engineering Services Agreement. Jim Darnell is here. I've got a lot of guests tonight. Jim Darnell, and I don't think Steve is here. Steve Gidley is the other engineer that we've dealt with a lot in the past. This is a Development Engineering Services Agreement. If you recall, on November 18th at the Committee of the Whole, we discussed outlining strategies and expanding our engineering services that J.J. Bennis has provided to us in the past, and we're going to expand the scope of work with their company. We've included our agreement with them for these consulting services and transitioning some of these items under the Community Economic Development Department from Amy. I just want to thank Pam and Amy. They both worked hard on this with the consultant and Jim, and I think we've got a good relationship and a path going forward. Their company does do this type of work for Lyle, I believe it is.
We are the village engineers for Lyle and for Woodridge,
So they
And,
have experience.
and also Western Springs for 30 years over there. So we're very familiar with this type of work.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thoughts, questions, concerns? I think the last time we bumped into each other was at Chipotle, wasn't it? Yeah.
We were up buying furniture polish,
That's
because Naperville has the best furniture polish.
right. Well, if everyone's good with it,
They'll
then.
be coming here to Lockport in 6 months, right?
Yes, that's right. All right, so something we could put on. Do we need an action item for that?
No, it's just a service agreement, so we can just do,
All right.
we can go with consent, no problem.
Yep, I'm okay with consent.
Okay.
All righty. Tommy, what do you got?
HC1, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, a request came in last week for the city to study the proliferation of stores frequently called vape shops. When there's an expansion of a particular kind of business, sometimes there's a moratorium imposed by municipalities so they can study the nature of the business and determine whether a special use permit process should be required or if there's some other manner of handling a particular type of business. What's before you is a request to pass a resolution that would impose a 6-month moratorium on new vape shops or e-cigarette shops, giving the staff an opportunity to study the issue, make a presentation to the Plan Commission and the City Council for some kind of long-term process for handling those requests in the future.
Yesterday, I asked Pam, we have a couple shops in the process right now. I just want you to
Yes.
say a few words.
Sure.
They're okay, correct?
They are okay, and I've had a conversation with both of those business owners, and I've explained to them that because they have been in the process prior to this coming up, that they can continue to move forward and open their business, and that they will not be affected by the moratorium. And also, just to clarify, it's not just vape shops, it's also tobacco, smoke, and head shops, because based on the definition that, if you recall, we passed in 2014, we included all of those, including vape shops and e-cigarette shops, under that definition. And because we want to just take a look at the whole picture of it, we just want to make sure that that's clear as well.
We requested 180 days. That's probably a little longer than we need, but my guess is we'll get with council, we'll get with a few other communities and see what they're doing, and we'll bring something back to you probably in the 60 days.
All right. Any other concerns or questions out there?
I don't want to make too big of a deal. I just want to make sure that I have a little trouble with some of the language here. I don't consider these, I don't know if we need to go ahead and separate vape shops from head shops or tobacco shops. I'd like to know what the state laws, if we have any state laws, state statutes on this, okay? This has not sat well with me over the past couple of days. I would just like to, I'll have some questions for staff, okay? Some things I would like to see. I'd like to know what other communities are doing. I would like to know what the state, okay? I'd like to know what the FDA says about these things. So that's enough for now.
Well, then why don't we put it on for an action item so we can vote on it?
I'm fine with a consent agenda.
Is it okay with consent with everyone? Okay.
Let's just do an action item.
We're not bringing it back right away, though.
We're not. I thought.
The moratorium would be back next
Moratorium
week, but
will
I'm
be
saying, we would bring back some solutions and resolutions to
Well, wait a minute.
do formal adoption
I thought this, we're gonna have a resolution to have a moratorium, we have to vote on it
Right.
at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay?
Correct.
So it's either gonna be an action item or it's gonna be a consent agenda.
You were okay, Bob asked for an action item?
That's
I'm fine with an action item. That gives us an opportunity to. JR, were you about to say something?
No, I was just a little confused by what you said it went from 100 days, all of a sudden you said, well, I think it'll be done in 60 days. So obviously, we need to discuss it if you think it's something
Right.
that's going to go from 100 days down to 60 days.
Well, I think Ben's saying that maybe you can get answers that we're looking for and Darren's looking for and the rest of us earlier than that.
Right.
This is just a moratorium. so they
Correct,
can-
yeah, we're asking for the moratorium now, but we will do some more homework and at least have some answers if someone new calls us next week or in January, that we've got a current hold on these businesses until we can figure out if it's gonna end up being a special use or what we'll do. Do we categorize them all together? Do we break them out? I mean, there's certainly some deliberations to be made, and we're just looking for a little time to research more before we make our recommendations to you.
Now, how many people are we affecting right now, though? We've approved, we had 2, you said are in the
Two.
process of being approved, and they're going to go ahead and open up.
Yes.
Are we holding, is anybody else in the stage at all? So there's nobody else? in
There was a number of calls, and that's
Okay,
when
so
we
it's
got
all based on
concerned.
calls.
It's like, all right,
Okay.
maybe we need to just
Right.
take a look at
How many do we have in the city now that would
This
qualify?
will be 3, right?
It'll be
Well,
three
we
for-
have 2 tobacco shops, and then we have 1 existing vape shop in downtown, and then we have the 2 pending. So there'll be a total of 5 freestanding tobacco or vape stores.
Okay.
But we have 20, and that includes the 2 tobacco stores of tobacco licenses that have been issued. Because
that's like
there are other
Walgreens and all
businesses
that
that also sell similar product, but because it's under the 30%, it doesn't fall into this category.
I'm sorry, where are they going to be located at?
The new ones,
Uh-huh.
one is going to be located in the shopping center where 7 Paintball and Anthony's is located. It's right next to I think it's the Caldwell Banker up there. And then the other one is going to be located on North State Street in that little Village Center shopping center. And then just for the record too, there is one that opened in the county a little further on North State Street. I think it's at Smith and Archer in that shopping center that's up there.
Okay.
All right, so we'll do an action item, please. Thank you. All right, Pam, what else you got?
Okay, I think this is development fees. The next item on the agenda is a proposed amendment to our development code regarding engineering review fees and engineering inspection fees. The development code addresses 2 sets of fees. There's a set schedule established for planning and zoning fees, or planning department fees, and then there's also a set schedule currently for engineering department fees. The current planning department fees, just for reference, are structured on a sliding scale based upon the size of the proposed project or acreage. They're non-refundable. They're collected for a concept and/or preliminary plan review, final plan and plat review, and any amendments to plans. Under the subsection, though, that addresses engineering development fees, the following non-refundable fees are collected: only for preliminary plat and plan review fees, final engineering review fees, and final engineering inspection fees. So what's being proposed is that we don't have concept plan review fees associated with engineering reviews. And now that we have, engaged J.J. Bennis to take a more active role in development engineering, we need to be able to offset those costs at the concept plan review stage, which in the past, when we did the reviews for Broken Arrow as well as for the Hillwood Industrial Development, when they came in through a concept plan, we didn't receive any review fees associated with that review, so those fees were absorbed by the city. The fees currently are based on the engineer's estimate of cost, which is 2% for review and 1.5% for inspection. So under the current code, if we were to follow the current structure for engineering review, when an applicant would come in for a preliminary plan review, they would have to submit 2% based on their engineer's estimate of cost. It would be a preliminary engineer's estimate of cost. And then when they would submit for final, the fees that were originally collected would be either adjusted up or a credit, depending upon what the final estimate of cost produced. Well, when we would meet with some of the development community, they were a little concerned that these fees were non-refundable. And so I provided you with an example. So if we took an example where someone was coming in with a preliminary plan, and their preliminary estimate of cost for improvements was $2 million, their non-refundable application fee would be $40,000. And the concern is, how can I submit that kind of money when I'm not really sure if the project is even going to be approved? So we had worked with a lot of applicants and kind of didn't follow the code exactly, and we would just collect the money at the time of final. So with the sliding scale that's proposed, now if that same project at 15 acres in size were to come in, the application fee for their preliminary plan review would be $4,500. And as a non-refundable fee, that's a little more palatable. This whole fee structure is very similar to what we do with planning and zoning fees. When I put this together, I did use estimates on what review times could be based upon what we do in planning and zoning, and then upped it a little bit by a half hour to an hour depending on engineering. But I did actually use the rates that J.J. Bennis uses for Steve Gidley to do the review. So these numbers are, and they're probably a little higher than that. I just kind of adjusted them a little bit. But I think they're pretty close to what it takes to get the project reviewed. If for some reason it goes above what's been collected, there's a new provision that I'm adding in there that basically says anything above and beyond any of the fees that were collected at any stage in the review process that exceeds what was collected, we would be invoicing the applicant for to get reimbursed for those costs. As we look at the final engineering review fees, the way we currently do it is we would get those fees after the project has been reviewed, approved, and prior to the start of construction. Well, again, if somebody walks away from that project, even after getting final approval, we could conceivably be out of those fees. So because the engineer's estimate of cost is generally reviewed and approved prior to going to Plan Commission, prior to going to Plan Commission is we're going to collect that 2% fee so that we're at least covered for the review if that project were to walk away. And then once the project is approved, then we would collect the letter of credit, which is required, as well as the 1.5% for the inspections that will be taking place as the project is under construction and as it goes through to the completion. So really the only change in all of this is the addition of a concept plan review, changing how the preliminary plan review fees are structured, the timing on the final, and then adding that additional provision that we're able to collect anything above and beyond what we've received in fees. And there are a couple corrections that I'll need to make. Jim had provided some comments. I did respond to also some comments from other council. I will be changing in number 4, where it says plan review and C above. I'm going to change it to 3 above, just so that we know that inspection fees are only associated with final. They're not necessarily associated with concept and preliminary, but we just want to reiterate to an applicant that the inspection fees are in addition to the final review fees that are collected. So with that being said, staff would ask direction to place this amendment to the development code on the January 6th agenda for action.
I have a question. In regards to, so should Hillwood come back and, with a preliminary plan, they just concept plan thus far, right?
Yes,
Okay, so they'll now be subject to this, correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
And actually, when we have been, kind of since we knew this, we were proposing this, when we have been talking with people who would be looking to come forward, perhaps before this would be approved, we were kind of giving them the option of the fees they wanted to pay. Either you want to pay what we hope will be the revised fees, which are substantially less, or you follow the current code. So we haven't had anyone take an offer on any and make any preliminary submittals, but we have had that communication so that people know we are in the process of hopefully modifying and getting approved the new fee structure.
Well, Jimmy Sidewalks, this is your venue, man. How do you feel about it?
There are no sidewalks in it now. I actually like this because it puts us as a council in a better position because we're working with developers, we're breaking that down so it's graduated steps, and it's less of a negotiation, like, okay, can I do this before I do that? And gets us out of that loop, or is just saying it's an easier process, it's streamlined, just follow the path and we go through it, and it helps the process move quicker, which that's the concept we were saying. So I think it's a great job. I had some questions on it, and Pam answered them, so I think we're good to go. If there are no other questions about this one, there's a side note to this that I want to bring up to the council. As an architect, I do a lot of schools, and it's a very large issue right now with schools because there's case study now in Illinois where schools they never had to go to the municipality for review. They just, because they were a state entity, they did their own thing. They can build whatever they wanted. The ROE, Regional Office of Education, did their own thing. Now there's Crystal Lake, I think it was a high school, built bleachers. You probably heard it in the news. 3 stories tall, right next to neighbors. Everyone complained, went to the state's attorney. Now there's case law against them. So they have to go to the municipality for zoning reviews. Not plan reviews, not inside the building, but zoning, parking lot, drainage, all that stuff. So as a council, we have to kind of be prepared for that because the schools are I guess the hubbub out there is there's cases out there where there's one school district that's in 20 municipalities, and they're like, now we have to learn the zoning of 20 municipalities. And one municipality charged them a $30,000 fee for a review. So we all have to now be good neighbors. They can't be just at that state level. We all have to work together. So I think we should be one of the forefront leaders in kind of working that out, saying if one of the or the schools, and this is going to it's going to eventually get to the fire taxing districts, the libraries, all that stuff, to say, this is how we're going to handle the other taxing bodies' projects that we didn't have purview before. So just a heads up for everyone, I think we should
So what you're suggesting then is that we're probably going to have a text amendment to our development code to reflect that.
That and to our fees, we have to discuss fees, because some of the complaints from the other, like the school taxing bodies are saying, why are you charging me $30,000 for a plan review fee? And I'm going to be sitting on a panel shortly discussing that, saying there's times, we just talked about J.J. Bennis, we have external expenses. We have to pay for those reviews and those fees, and there's staff time. So it's not like we just rubber stamp it and just keep going. So there are some expenses, but we have to be kind of upfront and honest and show the other taxing bodies that we're not adding on 50% of the fee and doing this, but, so we have to come up with a plan. Right.
Mrs. Ferry, are you guys building 3-story bleachers at Milne anytime soon?
And just, if I can add just a little bit to that, in some of the other municipalities that I have worked, I mean, there's generally, and it can be a policy that's, put together formally or just internally, but sometimes there's a courtesy, either you waive the fees or you reduce the fees a certain amount for other agencies.
Okay. Well, sounds good. Hard work. Thank you, Paul. Any other questions, concerns? All right, something to put on.
Leave it as an action item, or?
Action item, consent, doesn't matter to me.
I'm fine with consent.
Consent is good. All right, fantastico. Big Joe, you up?
Thank you, Mayor. I've been instructed to speed read, so I'll try to do the best I can here.
Who's giving you that signal, Bob?
On
Amy.
On September 10th, 2015, the council approved the purchase of an international 2016 cabin chassis from Rush Truck through the Illinois Joint Purchasing Program in the amount of $85,042 from the fiscal year 2015 budget. We've received the cabin chassis and are looking to finish the build-out of the truck with all the required snow equipment and dump body in the amount of $75,596 through Monroe Truck. This is also part of the Illinois Joint Purchasing Program and will be taken from the fiscal year 2016 budget. So we're looking to hopefully put it on consent agenda for the January 6th meeting to approve Resolution 15-094, which is a resolution authorizing the administrator and staff to purchase required snow equipment for the 2016 International Cabin Chassis from Monroe Truck in the amount of $75,596.
All righty. Any questions, concerns? Sounds good, under budget, we like it. I'm good with consent.
Okay, under Public Works 2, in regards to the CMOM program. Under the background and history, the CMOM program, which is the Capacity Management Operations and Maintenance Plan that is required by Special Condition 15 in the recently reissued Bonnie Bray NPDS permit. The special condition is now being included in all reissued NPDS permits in response to the US EPA requirements. The CMOM plan must be submitted to the IEPA by October 1st, 2017. The reissued Division Street plant permit is expected in the fall of 2016 and will also include the same requirements. We think we can address the entire, both facilities with one CMOM plan. Therefore, development of the CMOM plan can begin now to meet the October 1st, 2017 deadline and doesn't have to wait for reissuance of the Division Street wastewater treatment plant NPDS permit. So I guess we're looking for authorization to enter into a contract with Strand in the amount of $24,400 to implement the required CMOM program under Special Condition 15 of the current NPDS permit.
Thoughts, feelings, concerns, gripes? Anything?
Mandated by EPA.
Okay. Stinking EPA. All right, I mean, we're good with it.
The permits are good for 5 years, so the Bonnie Bray plant, 2020, you won't have to renew till 2020. We don't know what kind of stipulations they'll have then. And then when the Division Street permit gets renewed, it'll be 2021 or 2022 when that comes to fruition again. But each time, you don't know what special conditions they're gonna implement, so. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Joe. Any new business?
Yeah, I have a question. Since we're talking about text amendments to our development code, while reviewing both the municipal code and development code, we have not updated specific dates within our codes. The current code say July 1 as our fiscal year. We are now going in our second calendar year, starting January 1. I think we need to go ahead and somehow change the dates to where now it's well, not somehow, just do it. Change the dates about that, and there's some language that is within the development code, and we compare it to the municipal code. They almost say the same thing in regards to developments, especially in the PUD documents. I'd like to meet with Jim sometime in the next, over the holidays, just to go over at your house.
Right.
Look at you.
December 24th.
December 24th.
Like talking
about
code
about
over
7
the
p.m.
holidays.
Call me Jimmy Sidewalks. I don't do codes all day.
No, it's it's language, such as in our development codes, it says may, and then in the PUD, it says shall. Well, they don't mean the same thing, simple things like that.
And Pam can chime in on this. I know it's on our we've been kind of biting away at fixing all the things, and the next couple things are the municipal code and development code and some of our, inspection stuff. So it is as time permits. Now we're getting into our little bit slower season for building permits and everything, but Pam, that's your discretion time-wise when you think you can do it, but when it does happen, I know I want to.
But just the date, I just think we need the date, since January is 2 weeks away. I think we really need to, that's really the first thing that needs to be done is to have the fiscal year, January 1, be reflected within our codes versus July 1, which is currently says.
Well, it is. It's just, if you know where all those locations are and you can give those to me, it'll move much faster.
Well, that's the
If I
next
have to
question,
read
is
through
who's
the whole
gonna do it?
code, if I have to read through the whole code, it may take a little longer.
You could do a search edit on the Word document.
Does it have to be?
I'll be happy to do
Tom,
it.
does it have to be per line, or can you just say change all dates from June 1st to?
We would actually go through, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we would actually have to go through the code and make the changes in each one so we don't miss any. It's a tedious task, but it's something that I think if we maybe break it down into pieces, we can probably tackle 3 or 4 of them the first year and maybe a few others as we go on. Certainly the ones that are obvious, like the fiscal year one that has some importance, we can make those changes very quickly.
All right,
I do want to set a schedule on when we can, what your plan is, or what's the best one to hit first. Thank you.
All right, Pam. Darren, thanks again for being thorough. Yeah, Pam, if you want to look at that and just maybe get back to Darren and Jim about.
I'll be happy to go through it and just.
No, if you already know where some obvious ones are, if you just
Let him do it.
share those.
If there- we have,
True, he'll get it done really fast.
within our.
Keep him out of other things.
But within our development code, it talks about going to see the police chief down at the down on State Street, and that's been 20, 25 years.
We know it needs to be.
Addresses like that.
Yes, we can
You
look
guys
through
could
them.
discuss this walking on Jimmy's sidewalk.
Jimmy's sidewalk.
Some walking in.
It'd be the
we're gonna
biggest
discuss it.
section in our code about sidewalks. I would love to say that, we can get this all done by January, but it's not gonna.
Oh, I know.
We wanna, little by little, and Pam's got other things to do, so.
All right,
We'll work together.
We'll
get some
look for
updates.
some direction from you, Pam.
You're right.
Amy, can you come up here for a second? Can you talk about what you got nominated, one of your projects at Garfield? Can you just mention that for us?
Well, we didn't actually we got nominated, we actually won. The City of Lockport Garfield Street Reconstruction Project will be receiving an award for Project of the Year, projects less than $5 million transportation from the APWA Southwest Branch. And I believe the awards banquet is in February. Yeah,
Oh, so that's
February.
official. I read it wrong. I thought it was a nomination.
No, we actually won.
Congratulations.
There was two winners, the City of Lockport won, and the City of Joliet won for one of their projects.
They're riding their coattails.
Yeah.
Good job, Amy. Thank you.
Yeah, very good.
All right, anything else on new business?
One last thing, we have community events. There is a play taking place starting tomorrow, Thursday. It's at the Gaylord Building, and when I say Gaylord Building, it's where the Public Landing Restaurant is located at. And the name of the play is A Christmas Carol for Tiny Tim. It's based 15 years after the Christmas Carol that we're familiar with Scrooge and what have you. Fantastic play for all of us to attend. There are some tickets available. It starts tomorrow night, 7 p.m., Thursday, going through Sunday, the 20th, and 2 matinee at 2 p.m. I know, Joanne, you're going with some of your friends. JR, you just bought some tickets, and I know individuals in the audience are considering going, so we're expecting a full house, and it's $15 per person. Get more information at thegaylordbuilding.org, or you can go to the city website. I asked Jody to put it in community events at the city websites to get more information, starting tomorrow.
Right on. All right, any open floor comments? All good? All right, why don't we take, let's start again at, just 4 minutes. How's that? 4 minutes, that's a pretty.
4 minutes, I have to make a motion?
How about 5 minutes?
Yeah, we need to make a motion, sorry.
I'll make it a
Need
motion.
a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
JR, Joanne, all in favor? Aye.
Sure.
Dun, 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 dun. What's that, man? Good.
On what?
What's that?
Made it, I'll tell you why I was good.
I don't know what it's from. I thought I made it
Not
up.
going on none.
What's it from? Oh. It's my people here. Brian's shooting the breeze. JR's.
I forgot to take my keys.
What did you do?
Seriously.
Take your gun.
Yes. Oh, it just keeps.
Okay. Why does it reset?
Really?
Nothing else to do while we're waiting for JR. Oh, and Jim. All right. All right, now Alice is leaving.
That's not good. Sleeping makes
If you read the definition, it's.
I know. I'll throw it at you next time, Alex. Guys that work till 1:30. I get home at 2:30.
All right, Alice, why don't you give us a roll call for our city council meeting?
Alderman Petracos?
Here.
Alderman Capadona?
Here.
Alderman Galogly?
Here.
Alderman Smith?
Here?
Alderman Deskin?
Here.
Alderman Vandermeer?
Here.
Alderman Parada?
Here.
Alderwoman Bartleson? Here. 8 present.
All righty. Well, I'm looking to have a motion for a consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Got from Jason.
Second it.
Ooh. Second, we'll give it to Bob. Bob
yes?
Peretta, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so on our consent agenda, we have the regular city council meeting minutes from December 2nd, the committee of the whole meeting minutes from December 2nd, payroll period ending December 6th. We're looking for approval of various bills. Number 4 is the Central Square Budget Resolution 15092. And then there's the well 14 construction, the redrilling of well number 9. Looking to have approval for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, that's JR and Chris.
Brian.
Oh, sorry, Brian. All right, we'll need to have a roll call on that.
Petracos?
Yes.
Capadona?
Yes.
Galogly?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Deskin?
Yes.
Vandermeer?
Yes.
Parada?
Yes.
And Bartleson? Yes. 8 yeas, motion carried.
All right. Big Ben.
Yes, Mayor and members of the council, CA1 is on your packet. It's an updated memorandum in regards to a motion we brought to you earlier and tabled, number 15022. This is in regards to the transfer of property on the parking lot behind the Paradise Bay. We had some concerns with the potential quiet zone discussions and everything. I've asked, Tom has worked it out with them, where we have language strong enough now that if we need land to be deeded back to us at a later date, he's entitled to do so without compensation. I'm comfortable with that we could probably move forward with this transfer now as presented.
Okay. Can I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, looks like we had, sometimes I draw a blank.
Alderman
Bob and
Parada
Jim.
Parada.
Yep. Okay, any questions, concerns?
At first, I had a little bit of reservation here, make sure all our i's are dotted and t's are crossed. So that was my concern from the very start with this. I think it's a little unique that this is taking place, but
It's a unique situation where the property owner is really taking care of the parking lot that was half ours, half theirs. It'll always be used as a public parking lot, and he's agreed to allow special events to even use it that have historically used it for picnic tables and things like that. And I think he was just looking to kind of ratify the legal entity of that. Plus, we're getting the trade of a alleyway that should not be owned by private owners. I think the city should own the alleyway as well. And our only concern, or the reason we tabled it last time, was the potential use of having to relocate a utility pole and a fire hydrant for potential quiet zone improvement that may or may not come to fruition. And so to continue to hold him up until we figure that out, we felt it was fair to go ahead and continue as long as the legal language was strong enough that if we needed it and he understands what we may need, that we would get it back.
okay.
And we're talking about a space or two on a, in a corner clip is all.
Percentage, but.
Yeah.
Now, to be clear, we do not own that alley, okay? So that goes along with the buildings, yeah, that goes back to the early
We will.
1900s.
Will.
Well,
That portion.
that portion,
Yes.
but the majority, I mean, as of right now, we don't
We
own
control-
any of it.
We own the
So-
other half. We own the other entry point into the alleyway.
But as far as everything else behind it, we don't, so. it
Correct.
was Part of the thing that, but anyway, I feel pretty good on that, and I know Tom worked on that, so thank you for making sure everything was good, so, thank you.
All right. All in favor?
Roll call.
In a roll call? Roll call.
Petracos?
Yes.
Capadona?
Yes.
Galogly?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Deskin?
Yes.
Vandermeer?
Yes.
Parada?
Yes.
And Bartleson? Yes. 8 yeas, motion carried.
And then, Mayor and members of council, I also have a couple executive session requests, CA2 and CA3. for personnel matters and collective bargaining matters, and probable and imminent pending litigation.
Okay. All right, we'll jump on down to Amy.
Okay. My first item on the agenda is the Patty Cakes Outpost Lift Station Project, recommendation for approval of change order. In March, we awarded the Patty Cakes Lift Station Project to Lynn Cox and Sons in the amount of $118,225. We had originally budgeted $180,000 for this project. During construction, we encountered several issues, including the location of the existing force main was not where it was shown on the plans. Due to the fact that we were boring this force main along 151st Street to reduce impacts to the newly reconstructed road, we needed to know exactly where the underground utilities were so that we did not have an issue with the boring. Therefore, we had an extra for coring the road in certain locations to determine exactly the location of the utilities and the depths. And we also had a televising camera to find out exactly where the existing force main turned and went under the road. We had a couple other additional extras, including some rock excavation that we had not anticipated. So there were some things that were deducted from the contract that we didn't need, but the total final change order cost was $26,804.49. So our recommendation is to approve the change order in the amount of $26,804.49.
All right, can I have a motion to pass?
So moved.
Deskin,
Second.
seconded by Galogly. Any questions?
This has been going on. Brian, you started, this is when your first campaign promises, right, about 15 years ago?
It's so long, you can't believe how long it's been.
All right. Well, so if this is done, like when do you guys actually see this being done where they can pave that thing finally?
You pave what?
Pave the whole Patty Cakes? Are they going to pave that
Parking
lot? Isn't
lot?
that why it's never been paved, just because they've been waiting for this to happen?
Well, I don't think that's really the reason why it hasn't been paved, but that was part of their agreement to the city once that that service was provided to them, that it's their responsibility now to pave the parking lot.
All right.
I forget the timeline, but I think we gave them 18 months or something.
I think we gave them 18 months
Okay.
afterwards.
It's an expensive proposition.
It is, there's a lot there. They'll probably, say it's tradition now to have gravel lot. Okay.
Question I have, excuse me, Amy, is it, I guess with this change order, we're adding for 26,000. I guess is the situation kind of unique where they don't do this all prior to doing this type of work? I mean, at what point do you say this work should have been done, pre-work or pre-planning of all this should have been done prior to this coming to 26,000 is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I think that there probably could have been a little bit more research done. I think that what we thought we knew about where it was different than what we knew. So I think we thought we had better information about the location of that existing line than what we actually did. So we gave them the information that we had. It was put on the plans that way, and then when they went out there and potholed to locate the line, it wasn't where it was supposed to be. So, but it wasn't just the force main. We had the Wolverine pipelines out there that we had to locate too.
Yeah, but those things have been there for long. Those pipelines, I mean, those should be like spot on where they're at anyway, but, I don't know, I just can't, I just don't understand why we're paying that when I think a lot of that should have been done pre-construction, let's say. And I just think that,
It does seem like a lot of money. So let's say we say no.
I just think what we're seeing here is, and if we've learned anything over the last year and a half is as soon as people open up the ground, what they think is there isn't there, and they have, and whatever records ever existed, well, they're long gone. So
I think that, making sure that we have good as-built drawings of our projects and making sure that those are all kept readily available for the design is the important lesson. You know, a lot of times in past projects, we didn't have good as-built drawings. We have been trying to make a concerted effort lately to make sure that we have good as-built drawings and the records are being kept good, you know, when the projects are being built, so.
Well, wasn't 151st just done by P.T. Farrell? Wouldn't that have been fresh?
Yeah.
Like, that would have been brand new. I think we'd have at least known where those lines were.
2008, yeah. Yeah, there's not really any excuse for it, other than the fact that during that reconstruction, there were so many things going on, and it was drug out over such a long period of time that, you know, there were a lot of things that got lost in the shuffle.
All right, so let me ask you, let's say we're all like, this is outrageous, $26,000. What if we all say no? Then what happens?
Well, I mean, it's a change order for the contract. The work has already been done, so, you know, we really kind of need to pay for it.
Let me ask you a bigger picture question then. As we were tearing up some of these streets and we're finding craziness and, you know, are we making good records for, you know, 40 years from now when that council opens a street up? Are they going to be able to see, they're going to know what they're getting?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we continue to update our atlases on where everything is. Actually, in January, we'll be bringing a couple council memos to you to look at our water and sewer sanitation lines and plans for what we plan to do in the next 3 to 5 years. And some of this will be in some of the new areas where we have commercial growth. And if a developer comes in and says, well, what do I need to connect and do all this, we have to contract with our contractor Strand to go out, take a look, and do all this. Each time that happens, it's a time delay and an additional cost. And what I'll be proposing is that we take a look at our infrastructure and our plans, you know, for the next 3 to 5 years for both water and sewer, and kind of pre-map this out and what's required. So we'll be kind of getting a better grip on this in the future.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do a roll call.
Petrakos.
Yes.
Zona.
Yes.
Sologli.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Feskin.
Yes.
Vandermeer.
Yes.
Paretta.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
8 yeas, motion carried.
Okay. What else you got?
My second item on the agenda is the Heritage Crossing Corporate Center Letter of Credit Reduction Request. Last Committee of the Whole meeting, this was brought forward with the stipulation that we were still awaiting some televising reports. We have actually received and reviewed all of the televising reports and as-built drawings with the exception of one televising report of one short line of sewer that they did not get to us in time. My recommendation is to still do the letter of credit reduction request. We're not eliminating the letter of credit, we're just reducing it, and we still have the 10% warranty, so if there is something wrong with that one last section of of sanitary sewer, we'll have plenty of money left over to be able to address that issue if it arises.
Okay. All right, can I have a motion to pass?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
JR, seconded by Jason. Any other concerns or thoughts? All right, all in favor on this?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Well, we're used to roll call.
Do you need to roll call this one? It's not a money thing.
No, on this one, we do not.
Okay. All right. I just like to hear yay and nay. It's kind of cool. All right. And lastly, what else we got? Oh, that's it. Letter of credit. Okay. All right, my friends. But I guess we need to adjourn to go, or recess to go into executive session. So can I have a motion to recess?
So moved?
Second?
Alderman, oh my gosh, Bob, sorry. Bob Peretta, and seconded by Joanne. All in favor?
And Mr. Mayor, before we vote, we do need to state that it's for the discussion regarding the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and also dealing with litigation, either pending litigation or imminent litigation.
Okay, what he said. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, we'll clear things out and